So what I've done is I've drawn up a little plan on what I want the spaceship to look like. Now that I've done these little buttons, if I check my list, I have other things. That'll be later. Right now I just want to do the lerping for the player. I previously drew up, or earlier drew up the cockpit design on a whiteboard, and then I took a photo and just copied it and redrew it in GIMP to get some straighter lines out. There we go. But yeah, what I'm doing here is I'm just simply lerping the values of movement and mouse movement, or looking around movement. I do change this later on because there's some bugs with the mouse movement, but what I do is I just create a new variable called lerp movement, lerp the active, lerp vector3 move to that, and then add that to the move control instead. So I do all the functionality in that lerp graph, and I do something similar in the mouse one. So it's nice. Here I'm having some weird mouse smoothing issues, and I decided to separate the lerped values into two separate floats to see if that helps, and it does help a little bit. I've stuck with this till now, so I've gotten used to it. Things are a lot better than they were before. Whoa. Oh, that is a little bit better. Right now, I also want to add some animations to these. Go to interactable button. So what I do first is I go into the script and I immediately call the animator. Here I'm able to reference the boolean that will be used in the animator that will toggle the animation between on and off. In the animation itself, I simply just scale the button. I felt like that was just the best way to animate the button itself. I also had to tweak a couple of things, like how fast it squishes down and unsquishes itself, as well as the transitional time between the two. I had to set this manually. Ah, there we go. Oh. That's a lot better. Let's make a new shape. This is pretty much how I've always made models, unless it's voxel stuff, and then it's sticking to the usual. So things are a little bit confusing right now. Why am I saying I'm making this shape and this stuff like that? And why is there a plan on the floor, blueprint? That is the ship's cockpit that I have drawn up. I think I mentioned, I'm not sure if I cut it out or not, but I mentioned that I drew it on a whiteboard, and from there put it into a drawing software and drew over the top to make sure it's all aligned properly. So what I'm doing here is I'm building that through the Pro Builder package. I've used Pro Builder a lot, and I like to think that I'm fairly capable of using it. Either way, I start off by making the floor. I make the walls and the doorway, or at least the starting point of the doorway, and then I immediately jump right onto making the interior pieces. So I start off with the cockpit by messing about with all the vertices and the faces to try and line it up with the drawing. I move that to the floor, then I make the center table. It's just a cube. A lot of it's just centering things, so everything is just pivoted at the bottom and in the center, so it's easy to move. Then I make the desks on the outside. Then I actually make the proper doorway bit, like the thing at the top. Next I start creating vertices and edges to start making the lower floor platform, a windowsill or panel. It ends up being a panel, but right now it's a windowsill, very big one, and I try and scale that to size, but also try and keep it wrapped as closely as I can to the shape of the cockpit, not cockpit, the captain's desk, basically, the center platform, the center control panel. And after just messing around with it, I do get it eventually. From there, I start lining up the vertices with the main control panel, and to get ready for it to be lowered downwards, because I want to add stairs. In my head, I envisioned a little spot where the player could just walk down. It's just a little bit of depth. I didn't want the central control panel to be too far forward. I wanted it to be in the center, hence central or main control panel, and anything in front of that should be lowered so that the player can see everything outside when they're trying to navigate the ship. From there, I moved it over to the center bit and walked around. Just had a look to see what the scaling was, and I was quite happy with it. I then got rid of the floor, added a block in the doorway to stop the player from jumping to their deaths, and moved the movement buttons and rotational buttons over, as well as positioning them a lot closer together. Next, I added the windows. These were interesting. I got rid of the outside bits because the player's never going to go out there. I tried scaling things, stuff like that, and eventually I decided to get rid of the inside faces and create or extrude edges out of in the shape of the square of the frame. Now, I say square, it's not square, it's a rectangle, but I'm referencing to the fact that it's squared perfectly, or each corner is like a little square from corner to corner. It makes up a nice square rather than a rectangle. If you hold V, you can snap objects to things, and in Pro Builder's case, you can snap objects to the vertices, or snap vertices to vertices, which is really helpful when you're aligning things. And that's what I did. I moved it in, and when you hold control, you move in increments of 0.25 by default, and I just moved the increments to create the frame. I did that with all of them. The diagonal ones, I had to actually orient them to face forward so that things could be accurately moved. It took longer, yeah, but I eventually got the hang of it. I got all the other windows done, and after some jimmying around and making sure things don't actually clip into each other, after that I extruded them backwards, because again, you're not going to be seeing outside, you're going to be seeing from the inside in, and from there it was done. Okay, I lied. I'm sorry. Instead of lerping the movements or the total movements, I decided to lerp the inputs instead to see if this would give me a better result. A little bit, try and keep up. I don't know if that's for random frame drops or not. Shouldn't be. I mean, 200 frames. I mean, the little stops and starts are mainly just me stopping and starting them. The mouse, moving the mouse, but it seems fine, but yeah, we'll see. Next, I want to create space, basically. So what I want to do is, instead of moving the ship, I'm going to move the objects around the ship, which also means I have to invert all of the controls. Well, all of them buttons need inverting. So instead of forwards, this will be backwards. Yep, and also I'm gonna... Oh, I can't do that. Get them to move space. There we go. And just hide that. And to see what's actually going on, I'm gonna add a bunch of random objects. And instead, and it should just like rotate them. There we go. So it now looks like I'm moving around space instead. Move up forward. Oh. Moving towards space and then else. So if it's not, then do that. But then if it is, then... Ooh. How do I translate something in world space? I don't know. Oh wait, you can just add... Ah, that's cool. So space self and space world. I forgot that. I don't really use translate. So the only times I've actually had a need to use it. Because the ship isn't moving, so I need to accompany that, accompany for the fact that this doesn't move. Now, if I wanted to go to that ball, I can go to that ball. And also narrowly miss the cube. Next thing would be to change a couple of things. I have a cube map of the nighttime, the stars and stuff like that from the NASA website. Very helpful. I'm going to just grab it. I'm going to put it in here and then replace this with that, and should be able to just drop it. Oh yeah, I can just drop it. That's nice. Is there a possibility for me to change the way it looks? I think I can in the lighting. So in this case, technically there shouldn't be any directional lights. I'm not near a star, so I'm going to just get rid of it. There. That should be fine. Little box. Let's add some lights. I think for the time being, point lights will be fine. It lights things up quite well. That should be fine. Alright, there we go. And I'm in a little box. I want to put some headlights on this so I can actually see in front. Some nice spotlights right outside. That side, that way. Yeah, I have 4 lights, all pointing in this nice big cone. Yeah, there we go. Lots of shadows. Able to examine outside, except from behind, which is fine. Rotate some back. There we go. I'm happy with that. That was the charm, and I'm going to create a rough outline on what I want the ship to be. So for that, I'm going to just scale it up and see how big I can get. I want the ship to be big. There's a reason for that. I could probably actually move that down, move that forward, so the cockpit's actually at the front of the ship. Okay, so then this way, it's very far out. Let's see how slow this turns. Oh, it still turns quite quick. Okay, okay. Cube. I'll probably be able to crouch and stuff like that. I'm quite happy with the stuff I've done though. Buttons. I might change all these to have different colours. Why not just do them now? Why not just do that now? It's just like fog. There we go. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that today.